Andy Keeney, who will talk to us about operations. Andy, I'll turn it over to you.
Okay, I'm unmuted. Tonight, I'm handing it over to Bob Butler, but before I do, we're going to talk, or Bob's going to talk about ProTrack, something that Bob and I've been involved in since the early 2000s. Bob and I become very good friends. We're talking almost daily, and Bob comes up to operate on my railroad when we have op sessions from Sandusky to Lansing. It's about 3 hours each direction, which I really appreciate him doing so. He used to run my program for me when I was using ProTrack, and he's still using it both on his club and his home layout. So he's going to give you just kind of an overview. You can't do a whole lot in 15 minutes as far as getting into it in depth, but he will be back to do specific areas of the program a little later on, and we'll show you just how great this program is. I don't use it now, but it's nothing, no reflection on the program. It's just my railroad's so complicated. I just found car cards was easier to use. So Bob, take it away.
All righty.
Ed, do you want to flip it over to Bob, and he's going to screen share?
Can you see that all right?
Yeah.
I'm good to go?
Yes.
Yes.
It's yours.
All right. This is a real-time program. Your cars aren't routed until it's at the yard. And like any computer program, garbage in, garbage out. So it's important to input all your information as best as you can. It does all the clerical work, moves the cars for you. And it follows a cycle for the cars similar to this. And he also has the clean out tracks available on the program and rip tracks. And it adds a little more switching to the operation. For some of the customers, you need to know the length of the track, what commodities, who's going to switch at what railroad. And that's pretty much it. For car information, you need all the weights, what type of car and all that. And also your box cars, when you have the clean out track on, it'll rate the cars or derate them as they're being used or what commodity they're using.
Bob, when you say weight, what do you mean weight?
Your weight limits, and that's all around this area right here, plus your bearings. And the build date's important. They'll let you know if you're out of date or as far as not being able to interchange a car.
I see.
You have to set up waybills, your customers that are online and for overhead traffic. It's pretty well spelled out. You put in your commodities, and if you're if you're using a box car, you need to put in what grade, like an A, B, or C, and the program will look for those type of cars.
What is the difference in a boxcar A, B, and C? I don't understand.
A rating is clean, very usable. You get down to a C, it's like hauling bricks or anything. It derates the boxcar down to a C and needs to be sent back to the clean out. And he'll do that all automatically. You don't have to do anything special. You also have to put in how many days of the week you want these commodities to come. This is one of my grain elevators. I've got 3 different waybills going to them, and I'm using 2 cars for each one. it keeps that elevator kind of busy and a lot of cars coming in and out. So you can use different days of the week to have the car orders. And then your train information, you have to tell it which towns it's going to or what staging. And also the length of the train and the kind of weight that the train's going to be hauling. And the program will arrange the trains to that information. Also with this particular train comes out of staging, goes to staging. And when it comes out of staging, you need another train that's coming out of staging on the next session. That's down in this corner here. This is a typical sheet that you would get from the yard or in the yard. And this was one of Andy's going to Madison. The top 10 cars are the ones going. The rest of them that have stars on them are extra cars. This job we would run maybe 2 or 3 times in the morning. And but this is what the Gresham yard would get, make this train up with these 10 cars. Then when that train leaves Gresham, is on its way to Madison, we'll print another sheet. And these cars are the ones that will be picked up. And then when that train is assembled and comes back to the Gresham yard, we'll print off another sheet. And it tells the yard people where those cars are going to. And this is one of my road trains. It goes to 2 yards. And when it gets to the yard, I'll print off the sheet. It tells you which cars are being dropped off, which ones are staying in the train. And then before it leaves that yard, I'll print off another sheet and it completes the train setup. And that's all I got.
Explain a little bit about ProTrack today, Bob.
Well, the guy that developed the program passed away in 2017. And there's a group of us that are keeping track of the website. For anybody asking questions, we try to get an answer to them right away.
This was a $350 program when Jim was selling it. It's free now.
Yeah, it is a free program.
Does anybody have any questions?
How long would it take? How long would it take a model railroader to implement this on his reasonable sized model railroad? If there is such a thing.
Our club, I did I completely loaded all the information on a weekend. I started Saturday morning, I worked about 8 hours. And then on Sunday, I worked another 8 hours. We had about 160 cars and about 25 customers. And then making up all the way bills and all that was really no problem. It goes pretty quick once you get a rhythm going. And the program itself troubleshoots a lot of the issues that we had earlier on. The gentleman put a lot of troubleshooting in it for you. So if there's a problem, you can usually find an answer somewhere in the program. It's a lot more user-friendly than what it was.
Did you take any kind of special computer to operate it?
No, I'm using a Vista downstairs on my home layout. And I'm using Windows 10 at the Railroad Club.
What time frame is this program used around? I'm thinking of if you go earlier on, you wouldn't have the preciseness, the earlier you go.
You can almost put any year in there. He's got it somehow arranged. I don't understand all the workings of it. We had a gentleman that come to the ProTrack weekends that was modeling 1905 and using the program. And you know, with the engines and everything that he's using, he set up his car links and everything.
You set the date right at the very beginning when you start building the railroad, and the program based on that date will use the rules and such that were in effect at that date on the real railroads.
How do you locate the industry? How do you locate the point where you want a car dropped off and so forth?
He's got a listing of over 2,000 customers for in staging. And you make up your own customers as you're going along. At our club, we've added 5 or 6 industries. We've taken out 4. It's just going in and modifying things, and it's pretty easy to work with. We had one guy that he's used to the other computer programs where if you add cars to a train, it'll completely bring it to its knees, basically. I overheard him say he was going to bring extra cars, so I got the numbers, went into the program, found out where they were going, gave it to the yard master, and life went on. There was no hiccup or anything. The cars just get rerouted, and we just kept operating.
How come I've never, this again, this may be me just totally out of touch. I've never heard of this before.
Oh,
I found it on Yahoo Groups at one time, but that's how I met Andy. He was advertising an open house for ProTrack, and that's how we hooked up.
Oh, don't use the term hooked up, Bob.
Oh, yeah, that's how we met.
That's not railroad terminology.
We have a question from the Zoom chat. Dan Cohen wants to know, how does it compare with JMRI?
I can tell you that from what I've seen on JMRI, it can't touch what ProTrack does. Now, maybe as JMRI's come along and does a lot more. This was a little early on. If I was going to go back to an ops type program, I would definitely go back to ProTrack. I haven't seen anything that can touch ProTrack. Jim has been working on this. Jim Moore, that passed away, he was working on this from the 80s, and he just continually upgraded. I think, what, 360 was it? Or
360 was the latest. Most of the guys are using 348.
Okay.
Because there was some other hiccups that he introduced into the program with the updates. But
well, Jim, you were asking a question about how do you get the cars to a certain town or a certain
Yeah.
If each town has a code. So like Adam, I could use AD, Guthrie, GU, Cedar Hill, CH. And then each industry or each location that the railroad would work would be a number. So AD1 might be the station itself. AD2 could be another industry, AD3, and so on. That's how we do it. And then the program, you tell the program where you want, which train you want on those cars to be delivered to that town. I mean, this is a lot to cover in 15 minutes, and it's probably confusing a lot of people. What I want to do over time, if people are interested, is for Bob to take a piece of it and kind of expand on it. And so you have a little bit better understanding. There is one very large, it's actually a tome. It's an operating manual, and it helps you actually set up a test railroad so you can learn how the program works. And then it's got a lot of answers, a lot of questions and answers and such. And you've got the guys themselves. Anytime someone posts a question, they'll get in and help, help answer. So, and for something was $350, and a few people bought it just before Jim passed. Jim's wife gave it to us to use, what, open source, I guess you call it, something like that. But we cannot, nobody can take that program and modify it or take it as their own and keep expanding on it. It is what it is, and she's allowed us to do that.
Well, I'd like to see Bob come back, Andy, and go more in depth with it. I'd like to actually see a railroad operate using it and see, how the switch lists are actually used and so forth. I think it's fascinating.
Yeah, I agree with you. And I think as people learn more, they'll have a better understanding about how this actually operates and how the railroads operate in general. So well, thank you, Bob. Anybody else have any questions? I don't want to cut Bob off.
Andy, why don't you, I don't either. Andy, why don't you talk to Bob and you guys figure out how the best way to try to present this and so forth and how much time you need, and let me know and we'll get you scheduled.
Okay, that sounds good then. I'll get with Bob and then get back with you.
That sounds good.
All right.
Anybody else have any questions for Andy or Bob? Because I think this is fascinating stuff. I've never heard of this before.
I was just gonna point out also on the screen, here's all my customers that are in Riverside, and that's, they each have a different number, but in that town is RVS, so I can direct traffic to any of those customers when I'm doing way bills or setting up customers and that.
Why does the weight of the car matter?
It figures you can put a weight in your train, and I don't know if you saw that before, but when the train is being built in the system, it'll only go up to that particular weight.
I see. Okay.
You may have a maximum of 20 cars in your train, but you may only get 5 cars if the weight is lower. It takes all that into account when you're making up the train.
And so then if you want to go from the 5 cars, you want to go to the 20 cars, you'd have to add more motor power, right?
Yes. And that would increase your weight.
Yeah.
The other thing, I was going to say, the other thing that's helpful is you can set those things on autopilot so they're in the background and they're not bothering you, or you can actually use them. So you've got to go by them. It just helps you get going and not being overloaded with all these things that are more realistic.
Anybody have any more questions for Andy or Bob?
Thanks,
Well,
Bob. Appreciate it.
Thank you so much, both of you, for being here. I really do appreciate it and look forward to some more information about this, Bob.
Okay.
So now let me turn